why does something work? Even if you make a piece of art, you might, and it works, you may not know why. It's like there are a lot of talented people who never make it because they don't have the work ethic to make it. It's not just talent. Like, talent's a piece.
Yeah.
And you could argue for some people the work ethic trumps the talent.
Welcome to the Mindset by Design podcast with your host and NLP expert, Andy Murphy, where you will learn the tips, tricks, and strategies he teaches his world-class clients to give you the skills to dominate any business.
What's going on, Mindset by Design crew, and welcome to episode 409. I got a good one for you today. I really do. I've just read this guy's book. If you haven't read this book and you are in any way a creative, an artist, an entrepreneur, a podcast host, or maybe you're a musician, maybe you just want to create your life the way you want it, right? His book is so good. He breaks it down so simple, step by step by step. The way I listen to books, it's interesting. I listen to them last thing at night. So I'm tearing through books at the moment, and I've done this for, I don't know, well over a decade, probably 15 years, but I'm very selective of what I put in my brain. And I mean this. Why? Because I know the science behind it, and I've worked with all these people for 21 years, you know what I mean? But and I teach really in-depth ways to retrain the unconscious mind. But the simplest way is to understand as you're going to sleep, your brain goes into a different brainwave. You have access to your unconscious mind. In other words, your brain software, the images, the feelings, the thoughts, right? And whatever you start dominantly inputting, your brain starts to adapt to it. Plain and simple. So I listen to a lot of business books, a lot of spirituality books, a lot of books that are teaching me, growing me. And I wake up in the middle of the night with something, you know, we all gotta pee sometimes, right? Book goes back on. Guess what? First thing I do in the morning. Well, I do lots of things first thing in the morning when I'm tuning my brain up. I tend to wake up about 4 or 5 o'clock, get out of bed maybe 6, but I've listened to either audiobooks, I've done brainwave frequencies, I've done hypnosis, I've done something always to prime my nervous system and brain to allow it to be in high performance by the time I get out of bed. And then what I do actually, we're going down this topic, I use my systems that I've taught to thousands of people to be able to train your nervous system to be in calm, light up the neurology or the thoughts or the version of us that we want, and really start to get control over those brainwaves, who we are, and how we step out into the world. That's the secret sauce to how you do mornings, right? But again, in my pyramid of peak performance, which I should put into an opt-in, I'm going to be creating lots of free things for you to download to help you as we launch the ReBoot Academy and Bootcamp. And so I'm going to help you. But back to Rubin. If you don't know this gentleman, then I'm about to let you know. Rick Rubin is been all over the place at the minute. Why? Because he's been on Rogan. This is an actual clip from Rogan that I'm going to break down. And he's quite a cerebral guy. He really is. But you know what I mean? But listen to his accolades. He's a badass, man. He's a badass. So Frederick J. Rubin, yes, I'm reading from Wikipedia, American record executive and co-founder of, listen to this, he's a co-founder of Def Jam Records. Do you know what I mean? And co-president of Columbia Records. And he really got started back in the day with hip-hop. Before hip-hop was hip-hop, he was the guy, the white, like, nerdy-looking beard dude. But he was making superstars with Beastie Boys, Ghetto Boys, Run DMC, Public Enemy, LL Cool J. And then he moved into Heavy metal with Danzig, Metallica, Slayer, and even the Cult, Red Hot Chili Peppers, Weezer, Audioslave, Aerosmith, Linkin Park, Rage Against the Machine, System of a Down, Johnny Cash. Do you know what I mean? Amazing. So when you're able to produce that level of success, it's the type of people that we want to model. We want to look at their beliefs, their attitudes, their language of how they speak to themselves or the people. We want to look at their perspective of how they solve problems, how they create solutions, right? Because if we can take a glimpse through their eyes of the world, then we can model or elicit and then imprint it in our own world. What the hell does that mean? It means that we can get a little bit of what they're doing and put it inside ourselves and play with it to see if it helps our life. That's it, man. So I love this episode because, as I said, I've just gone through the book, and it's you just got to go and get the book. It's so badass. I just wanted to share this clip and then break down and elicit some of these strategies so you can apply them in your own life, your own business, your own income. And if you're doing a project right now, then you need that creativity, right? You need that creativity. And it's very interesting points you brings up, but we're going to get into that. You excited? You should be excited. And you know what else you should be excited about? Well, you definitely need to be excited about how I can help you. Well, more importantly, how you can help yourself. I got a few cool things that can help you. Number one, well, we all need a little pick-me-up sometimes, right? These are my sponsors, by the way. These are the sponsors. So, number one, nootropics. If you don't know what nootropics are, they light your brain up, they fire neurotransmitters, and they make you feel and perform like a badass. I use them multiple times a week. I used to use them every single day. But again, I'm kind of an obsessive dude. And using everything every day gets a little much, right? So I definitely use these multiple times a week. And these are the world's best nootropics. By far. And I've tested them all. Going even back to Onnit, Joe Rogan's brand, back in the day. We're going back well over 10 years ago. Probably close to 15 years ago. I was one of the first people to use Onnit, and I loved them. And they're still really, really good. But this is a next level to it all. So the brand is called Nootopia. You can go to the show description, click on that link, and get yourself some awesome things. Go use that link because it gives you a cool offer. What else? Yeah, just go and get yourself nootropics. They're badass. What else do you need? Well, you need to build yourself into the ultimate entrepreneur. And I don't know any other training systems out there that do this, as well as the 8-Figure Thinker Peak Performance University. I don't know anything on earth that's out there that does it as well as this. So go and check that out, man. It's 8 levels that are going to go deep into your unconscious mind. You're going to take you on a journey. And that's what I really wanted for the 8-Figure Thinker. And what's crazy, actually, is I'm sitting here because we just moved house. And I've got the original board on my left of how I mapped this story out from level 1, where we go through the 8-Figure Thinker decision, where 2, where we actually create the state and enter flow. Then level 3 is where we go off over the gap where most people get stuck. And then we jump to the level 4, which we create something called a new set point. A new set point is where we install this new version of you. So instead of snapping back to the past, we snap back to the future. Snap back, set points, these are all things I've included in this program. Then we go to level 5, it's energy and state management. I'm literally reading this off the board if you couldn't tell. State number 6, this is where we take that badass version of you and move it into subliminal communication so you can network at the highest levels. Then number 7 is we take this into high-level sales and we take this into global connections. And level 8 is where we bring you into the future. That's a monster of a journey. And it is the most most comprehensive and in-depth mental training system on earth. Bar none. Don't believe me? Go and check it out. That's number 2. Number 3 is, well, you can be an early bird. You can be an early bird to something very, very special. If you are a sales pro, you're a real estate pro, you are an e-commerce founder, or you are a coach, and you are used to having success and you have dipped in performance, then what you need is to reboot. That's what you need. You need the ReBoot Bootcamp and the ReBoot Academy. And you can be an early bird to this. So what I want you to do is to hit that show description or head over to andymurphy.online. Go to mentoring and you can message me. Or you can message me at andy@andymurphy.online. andy@andymurphy.online. And type in the subject, beta. That's all you need to do. Beta, not as in you're a beta, as in you're going to be beta testing this program. And I know that within 90 days, you could double, triple your income. Fact. And if all of that sounds good, 1, 2, or 3, you know where you are. Nootropics, the premier training system in the world. Number 2, the 8-figure thinker. Number 3 is beta testing in what? You got it. Beta testing in ReBoot. So that's your 3 things. Hopefully you love it and hopefully you do something different for yourself. So let's jump in, hit those show description, and now let's go and hang out with Mr. Rick Rubin.
If you want to live in a creative way, which will benefit everything in your life, be a better person in your family, be a better, if you're starting a new business, do a better job of starting a new business. It's all the same. I don't really know anything about music. It's more a way of looking at the world and wanting it to be the best it could possibly be and doing whatever it takes to be the best it could possibly be and being true to knowing that no one else knows. I'm not saying I know, but that everyone's idea is as valuable as mine. We're all creators.
Okay, let me jump in there, crew. Let me jump in there. Did you just hear what Rick said? Did you hear what all of his accolades were? Yet he doesn't know anything about music. Did you get that? So what is he doing? He's a coach, right? He's not using that description, but that's what he is. He's working with those artists to develop them, to get the best out of them in that moment so they can then shine and deliver their absolute best, which means their genius, right? And so if you're a coach right now or you're an entrepreneur in any way, understand the power of what he just said, man. You just have to develop the best version of you and then be able at will unlock that genius creativity inside of you. And then what happens is what you're passionate about, what your skill set is, will just start to unlock. And you know what? It's even like putting together, and I keep going on about ReBoot, but I am very excited about it. And I haven't been excited about a project or anything in actually a few years. You know what I mean? So this is really exciting for me. But even going through this, it took me a couple of months to get the idea dialed in. And it did become frustrating. Because I knew that there was, my whole objective with life is this, man. If you're listening to the first time on the podcast or you're getting to know me, this is the truth. I just give it all I can every single day, because the truth is, I don't know if I'm going to wake up tomorrow. I don't. We all don't. So I want to make sure that there's all of this work and information out there. So not legacy, because I don't care about myself like that. I just want to be able to help people as much as I can, the best way I can every single day, right? And if you can go in with that attitude about everything that you do, it's just give it your best, right? And be kinder on yourself. Because what happens with tightening up, with restricting, with stress, then what happens is we lose that creativity, we lose that flow, and we start focusing on things that we don't really want to focus on. Does that make sense? And we all have been there. We've all been there when developing something new. We get, it's cortisone spikes in our brain that really give us brain fog. Your nervous system gets out of whack. Your brain chemicals go out of whack. And then what happens is what suddenly you used to find so easy becomes tricky and difficult. And then what we do is we get in our own heads, we get in our own brains, we get in our own minds, and we start self-guessing or questioning our ability. And then what happens is, yeah, you got it, we start entering that sabotage world. We've all been there too, right? So whether that's trying to escape through shiny object syndrome, looking for the home run hit with stuff, putting ourselves around wrong people or wrong ideas, or doing wrong habits, right? We've all been there too. And when we can start to understand that there is a flow to creativity, there's a flow to life. Like being a martial artist all my life, it took me a long, long time to understand that, well, I was always growing up, everything was a fight. Where I'm from in Liverpool, there was literally everything was a fight. But growing up doing martial arts, I was fighting 6 days a week. Then you go to competition and someone would try and knock you out. It's like, so I grew up with that nervous system set to reactive mode, explosive mode, right? Looking for danger was my filter system set to, right? So as you get older, that's great for a while, especially in business in those early days when you're doing sales and hustling. It's great, but long term, it doesn't serve you, because life is not supposed to be a fight. It's not. It's supposed to be flow. And there is a system. I've got lots of systems around this that I teach to my private clients and members of different things. But there's a system to be able to switch off the outside world. There's a system to be able to change into that ultimate version of you. There's a system to fold time and get things done much, much faster. There's a system to be able to switch on creativity. There's a system for everything. And no matter what your system is, I can develop one specifically for your need. But the truth behind it is there is a flow. And it was interesting. I always think this, no matter what you think about Kanye, right? Kanye is a clever boy, but he's also a little crazy. I get it. But have you seen that clip? It's one of the most... I laughed about this clip for so long. And so I watched it so many times. But he was talking about Lady Gaga becoming the creative director for Polaroid. That was it, for Polaroid. And he was like... something like this. I'm going to butcher it. But he was like... well, I like some of her music. I like Lady Gaga. But what the fuck does she know about taking photos? Or something like that, right? And that's the truth. That's why, look at it another way. That's how I can transition athletes into a different stage in their career. That's how I can transition high performers or salespeople or entrepreneurs or e-commerce, whatever it is, into the next stage of their business. Because the old saying is, how you do one thing is how you do everything. It's not true. It's not true. It's really not. Now, the actual statement is true, the original, but that's kind of a butchered version of it, and I can't remember the original. But I read it and went, oh, that makes more sense. But it's been customized, right, to say that how you do one thing is how you do everything. And it's not true. You could be the best tennis player in the world and the most terrible dad or father, right? Do you understand? So how we do one thing is not how we do everything. What I teach is how you do the best thing should be how you do everything. So if we can take the version of you that is absolutely ultimately the best you, and I can look at the memories, the belief systems, the structure of what you were doing and your routines and everything, and I can build that into the next level of your business growth, your income, whatever it is that you want to achieve, man. And if we can do that, we wire that together, then suddenly you're performing at such a higher level. And what Rick's talking about is that being able to understand that he can use his systems of how he thinks and then teach them to other people so then they can let go and let flow their genius. And that's why he's been able to play in so many different industries.
From the beginning, I never thought any of the things that I'm doing were possible or realistic. And I just did things out of the love of them, thinking I would have real jobs. And, like the thing that my passion would be my hobby, and I'd have a job to support my hobby.
Yeah.
And it just magically turned out different than that without me knowing it was possible. The stars line up at certain times for certain things to happen, and they happen. And sometimes you can make something great and it doesn't connect for whatever reason. I found this out from making a lot of stuff. Like sometimes you make two things that you think are the two best things you've ever made, and one of them connects with the world and one of them doesn't. And it might not have anything to do with what's in the art. It might have to do with, it came out the same day as this other thing came out, and that got in the way, or there was a bigger story at the time, or there was some other, who knows, or it's not it's not in the cards for that person to have that success. It's like there's so much to it that we don't understand.
Yeah.
All we can do is make something good and put it out and hope for the best, and that's all there is. We never know why does something work? Even if you make a piece of art, you might, and it works, you may not know why.
Think about what he just said, right? That's kind of like mind-blowing, right? Mind-blowing. And I've experienced that, and I bet you have too. You've worked so hard on a project or something, or even a post, a blog article, right? Or a social media post or a video that you were freaking out about making for months or weeks or days or hours. And then suddenly you do it and it doesn't mean anything. No one sees it anyway. And then you just put something out and it gets like 100 likes, or you get a client from it, or you just don't know. And that's what he's talking about, right? And two things there. There's one, he's talking about like, just allow it to be, right? Just allow it to be. We can't not control what we cannot control. All we can control is us, right? And the other thing that he's talking about there is really, the way I see it, is about procrastination, right? Because perfectionism, or what we perceive as perfectionism, is a very interesting concept, right? And we can go deep into what the root causes are, or what's creating that procrastination. And I can tell you why I don't believe in procrastination another time. But the thing is, if we don't know really what is gonna work, then why wouldn't we just keep pumping out things? Because we don't know what's going to work, right? But if we put everything into one thing, and we spend years on this one thing, and this one thing, it has to be right, it's got to be right, there it is. And then we put it out and it doesn't get any traction as an entrepreneur, right? It's kind of heartbreaking. But understand that it's a real interesting concept, right? money like speed. Now, we're not just talking about money in this whole game about today's episode, but let's talk about that money like speed. And I really believe there's something that he's mentioning but not mentioning. There's a frequency to success. There's a vibration to money. There's a vibration. And if we allow something to drag on, the intensity of that vibration, or the intensity of our belief, or the intensity of that laser beam, it's like a light bulb that with a dimmer switch, it gets dimmed down. And then what can be replaced, or what can get messy wiring inside of that vision or that thing that we're creating is a lack of belief, or remembering things that didn't go right. And then we start linking them unconsciously, neurologically, to that vision of what we want in the future, or the outcome of what we want from that project. And so what happens is our own insecurities can get in the way of that vibration, of that frequency, or they get in the way of having that product in the hands of the people at the right time. And life is, man, it is about timing. It is, right? And we have all had that experience. I know you have too. I know you've had that experience about, it's just if you zigged when you should have zagged, then that opportunity isn't there anymore and you're over here. I mean, we all look about the stock market or crypto, right? We could have been in and we should have been in, and then we should have been out, right? But everything's about timing, and I really believe success is about timing. And it was interesting. I've got a coach, I got mentorship, I put myself around high-level people that I learn from. And one of the things that they said to me recently, which is why it took me a couple of months to get this concept about ReBoot, yes, I'm talking about ReBoot again, is, because I really like it, is that I was still going back to all of the work and the programs I've put out before, and they're so fucking good. Like, I was going through them going, man, you were good. You were so good. And I was going through the programs and I was like, I'll relaunch this. And my mentor was like, no, stop the going back. This is now. Put what you want out now with a new energy, with a new you, with a new passion. And I was like, you're right. Who do I really love to work with, and what's the most effective results I can get from all of the thousands of people that I've worked with? Well, that's why I created this ReBoot, and I know what the results I can get for people, and that's the same thing as what Rick's talking about, right? There is a time and a place, so just keep pumping out things that you are pulled from your intuition to put out into the world. Of course, you've got to have strategy. Of course, you've got to get high-level skills. It's not just about throwing anything out and seeing what happens, but it's throwing out the best skill set, the best tactics, the best strategies, but from the best you.
It's like there are a lot of talented people who never make it because they don't have the work ethic to make it. It's not just talent. Like, talent's a piece.
Yeah.
And you could argue for some people the work ethic trumps the talent, you know? Having worked with a lot of bands, I see that there's often this friction where, and I'm sure you've seen it in a writing room for comedy, where people are trying to get their idea in.
Yeah.
That's not a collaboration.
No.
It's something else. A real collaboration is when everyone who's there is working together towards whatever is the best thing for the whole thing.
Yeah.
And whether it's your idea or someone else's idea, it doesn't matter. And if you're invested in the collaboration, you want the best idea to win. You don't want your idea to win.
Right.
What makes it great is the personal.
Yeah.
With all of its imperfections, with all of its quirkiness, that's what makes it great. How you see the world, that's different from how everyone else sees the world. That's why you're an artist. That's your purpose in sharing your work with the world.
And that seems to be the case with everything, with literature. It's definitely the case with stand-up comedy.
Everything.
We experience that in stand-up comedy where there's these kind of derivative voices where they're kind of like finding what they think other people want to hear, and they start saying it because they've heard other people say similar things that are now successful.
And even if they have some sort of a short-term success doing that, it's not revolutionary. It doesn't change the world. It doesn't last. You know, it can be a momentary thing, but it's never the thing. It's the people who you first see and you might not like that you come to like because you don't understand them at first. Those are the ones that change the world.
Yeah.
Those are the ones that you dedicate your fandom to for life. You can't second guess your own taste for what someone else is going to like. It won't be good.
Right.
You know, we're not smart enough to know what someone else is going to like. You know, to make something. Well, I don't really like it, but I think this group of people like it. It's a bad way to play the game of music or art. You have to do what's personal to you. Take it as far as you could go. Really push the boundaries, and people will resonate with it if they're supposed to resonate with it. We really are talking about magic. We're talking about like the universe conspiring on our behalf if we let it. And to be in this flow of catching these waves that anyone can catch if you're trying to catch it, you're open to it, you see it coming, you take off on every chance you get, and sometimes the ride happens, and it's remarkable. It's remarkable how it happens. And it doesn't come from, it's not preconceived, it's not an idea, it's through the doing. These things that want to be, that the universe wants to happen now, comes through us. And if we don't do it, maybe someone else will do it. Have you ever had that experience where you have an idea for something and you don't do it, and then 6 months later you see that someone else has done it? It's not because they took your idea. It's that it's time for that. And you can act on it or not. And if you see, and the artists, the best artists are the ones who have the best antenna for this material that's available. It's coming through. The best comedians see the best jokes. They see them coming. We all live in the same world. The way you see it, you have the best joke because you see it best. And one of the reasons I believe that you can see it best is because you don't believe what the structure around you assumes to be the case.
That's the point. That's the point right there. Everybody in marketing, and I mean this, like, 99% of marketers or marketing out there, especially online and digital products, they're all telling you that the funnel, the system, is what's going to work. Well, of course they are. Of course they're telling you that. It drives me crazy, these marketers out there, right? Of course they're telling you that. Because they're selling you a product or a vision that they want you to believe in. But the truth behind it is, it's like what Rick says there. We mate Rick, But it's what he's saying there. It's... there's a magic to this, and it's an unexplainable magic, but we've all experienced it. We've all experienced it. We all know when we're vibing high, the ideas come, people come, opportunities come. And we also know when we're vibing low, right? We're not looking for these. We're not receptive. We're not the antenna for these ideas. And we've all seen, yeah, it's mad. It's mad to look back, and we've all been in a room with someone, or we've all seen a commercial, an advert, and I thought of that. I thought of that 20 years ago or 10 years ago. I saw that last year. I thought of that. Well, did you? No. if we understand that we are an antenna to the universe that is birthing creation, then we need to understand that we need to be in the highest version of us. And so our intuition picks that up, the idea blips to us, and then we either grab it, write it down, and go with it, or we don't. But we've all had that experience, right? Think about that as an entrepreneur. How many times have you been sitting there and you're pondering something, and then you walk away and an idea will pop to you, and it's so crystal clear. It's the answer. It's the answer, man, to everything. There it is. That's what it is. Oh, amazing. You calm down, you feel awesome, and then what? You go, I'll write that down in a bit. I'll remember that. Bing, gone. You're like, shit. It's gone, right? And then there's other times that idea comes down, and I hope you've got the habit of writing these things down, because I learned this the hard way years and years ago. But when the idea is there, grab it, write it down, and play with it. If we talk about theoretical physicists, one of the things that they do is there's a creation process. And that creation process is they're pondering the idea. Is this idea for now or later? Is this idea for something I'm working on now or for later? And they ponder and create and play with that concept. And if it's not the right concept, it doesn't mean that it's the wrong thing. It might be the wrong timing. So I want you to understand it's science and magic. And that might sound stupid, but it's not stupid. I want you to understand that I might be talking about all the neuroscience, the neurolinguistic programming, the behavioral psychology, the persuasion and influence. But none of that works without you ultimately being the best version of you so you can pick up on ideas. It's even like being a sales pro, right? I don't teach sales anymore, but I definitely can better than most. But if you are not in that peak state, and that peak state doesn't mean, oh, I feel good. No. Your peak state is so much more than that. But what it means is that you're not going to be able to read the subtle cues of that person that's in front of you. You're not going to read the micro muscles on their face, their tonality in their voice. You're not going to pick up or mind read what their vision is of what they're thinking, so you can interrupt it, redirect them, or ask the correct question to have them on a guided discovery process, right? That's just sales. And so entrepreneurism, if you've dipped, I go back to ReBoot, man. This is why I'm pumped about it, because if rebooting means tuning you in again to your intuition. Rebooting means that you vibing high again. Rebooting means that we're firing the correct neurology and nervous system on a sequence, right? Rebooting means that we're building the images that we want back into your head, which is the language of the unconscious mind or your brain, right? Rebooting means becoming that 2.0. What got you that first level of success is not going to get you the next level of success. It's a fact. That's why you're stuck. Does that make sense? Right. So, again, I went on a bit of a rant there, crew, but it's just because I care.
So much of it has to do with humor. Like, when it's good, it makes you laugh, even if it's not funny. You know, like the surprise nature of things. When you hear the unexpected, you laugh, and it feels good. It's a good feeling, because what collaborating is about is we're always collaborating at all times with the universe. That's how it works. Like, we're taking in information, we're vibing on it. In the past, when someone would recommend something to me, it sounded like it wasn't for me. It's like, oh, okay. Now, if more than one person recommends something to me that sounds bad, I always check it out, because it's like the universe wants me to know about this. The way it tells me is a couple of people came up and said, why don't you check this out? if we listen to what's going on around us, you can overhear a conversation in a coffee shop, and it is the setup for an idea that you're talking about, the right way to say a particular joke that you're working on. You hear a phrase. It's not a phrase you commonly use. You hear someone else say it. My experience is when you are open and looking for these clues in the world, they're happening all the time, and they're happening often right when you need them.
That last part of what Rick said is it's everything. It's literally everything. And we've all had that experiences when we're on, right? And this is what priming the brain and nervous system or being in that ultimate version of you is all about. It's all about this, because it's like having those spidey senses on. But it's also having your filter system, your reticular activating system set correctly, so you're open to listen to these things. Because it's true. It used to happen to me all the time, and it's happening again more and more now. I'm excited about stuff again, right? And it's like there'd be 20 books there, and I'd just be pulled to one book, and it'd be like this huge book, but I'll just go to like a page, and there'll be like a sentence, and it's that sentence that I like, it changes my life, or it creates a service or product, or it you know what I mean? It's not just me. And what he's talking about also is synchronicity, right? It's talking about synchronicity. And if the universe gives you these gifts again and again and again and again and again and again and again, and we're either open to them and receptive and aware, or we're not. The world is either three-dimensional, and this table's a table, this microphone's a microphone, or it's a bunch of atoms vibrating at a certain frequency that creates this structure. It's either we're playing in the quantum soup of pure potentiality, or we're playing in this three-dimensional brick room. But both exist. So where do we want to play? I have a really close friend of mine. He's insanely successful, and he's able to solve a problem or get an idea for a different stage of his business or a business by basically meditating and going and asking the question, and then going into, he calls it a different vibration, a different frequency, different brainwave, and pulling this information down. And it's fucking right. It's mind blowing. But who teaches you that, right? You either got mystics, right? Or hippies, or the new wave of psychedelic culture, which at least they're on the right path. But the truth behind it all is we don't need any of that stuff. And I love all that stuff, but we don't need any of that stuff. You can tune into who you are, and you will be that antenna. Does that make sense? I hope so. So crew, that's the end. That's the end of episode 409. I could go on and talk on and on about Rick, but I really hope that you're loving this podcast. And yeah, I put a lot into it. So I really, really hope that you are going to go and share this, write a review for me, especially on your Apple or Spotify. It's so easy. Please go and do it. It helps me out a lot. And now it's time to help yourself out. We got 1, go and get the best nootropics in the world. Number 2, go and get access to the 8-figure thinker and go on the entrepreneurial journey to build yourself into the ultimate entrepreneur. There's nothing else like it in the world. Number 3, come and hang out and be a beta test. You know, you're on a beta test, insane discounts, and I'm going to give you everything. So if you're in a dip right now, if you're in sales, you're a real estate agent, you're an e-commerce founder, or running a digital business, or even a coach, I know I can take you double, triple your income so damn fast. And I want to show you what 21 years of experience working with the best in the world looks like. So please, andymurphy.online, go to mentorship, apply, or just message me directly on social media. You find me very, very easily. Or you can just email me at andy@andymurphy.online. andy@andymurphy.online. So It's time to step up. And speaking of stepping up, let's do that. You have an amazing week. Keep kicking ass. Much, much love. And until next time, one more thing. Why don't you smile for me?
Thanks so much for listening to today's episode of the Mindset by Design podcast with your host and NLP expert, Andy Murphy. We'll catch you next time.